You've tried being the cool parent. You've tried being the nice parent. You've even tried being the stern parent. But still, everything you say seems to bounce right off your teenager's mental armor. What's going on here? In this video, we'll explore why these common approaches often fall short and what you can do instead, backed by some fascinating psychology research. First, let's look at why being the cool parent isn't always the best approach. It's tempting to think if you can just be hip and relatable enough, your teenager is going to hang on your every word. But studies by Richard Petty and John Cacioppo found that attitudes changed by superficial tactics like humor and pop culture references were actually less enduring and more susceptible to counter arguments than those changed by deep, thoughtful reflection on the topic. So while being cool might get your teen's attention, it's not necessarily going to lead to deep, lasting changes in their beliefs. Okay, so maybe being cool isn't the answer, but what about being nice and understanding? Surely that'll work, right? Psychologist Carl Rogers is known for his research on unconditional positive regard. Rogers found that while empathy is necessary for fostering openness to change, it isn't sufficient. If you want to change the way your teenager thinks about something, you have to get them to reflect deeply and grapple with new ideas. You have to push them to question their beliefs and to notice the gaps in their current knowledge. So, yeah, being warm and supportive is great. It's awesome, but it's only one piece of the persuasion puzzle. Okay, so if it's not about being cool and nice, then what about the other end of the spectrum? Maybe it's about being firm and strong. Research by psychologist Diana Baumrind has found that teenagers whose parents are more controlling and authoritative tend to have lower self esteem, poorer social skills, and higher levels of aggression and delinquency compared to teens whose parents set boundaries but are also more warm and supportive. So while it's definitely important to have rules and expectations in your household, being too rigid can actually hinder your teen's development and make them less likely to listen to your advice. If you really want to get through to your teenager, you kind of have to combine all three of these approaches together. You have to be cool and nice and firm. Imagine you want your teen to develop better study habits. You could start by sharing a funny meme about the dangers of procrastination. This way, you're connecting with them initially about something relatable and fun. And you can also maintain a warm and understanding tone throughout the conversation. But you also want to push them a little bit to really think about their study habits now and how they might need to change. What do you think might be some of the long term consequences of putting off your work until later? If you develop the habit now of waiting until the last minute on things, how do you think that might play out in your life 10 years from now, 20 years from now? This way, you're combining being cool, being nice, but also pushing them to really rethink their beliefs. Another helpful strategy can be pointing out the discrepancies between your teenager's behavior and their stated goals. This can induce some feelings of cognitive dissonance. Maybe your teen says they want to get in shape, but you notice they keep skipping their workouts. You might gently point out this discrepancy and have a conversation with them. How do you think your current exercise habits align or don't align with your goal of getting in better shape? What do you think is standing in the way of really being more consistent with your workouts? By helping them to see the discrepancy between their goals and their behaviors, and then to strategize on how they could make some changes, you can walk that line between being nice and understanding, but also pushing them a little bit. That's a great way to utilize cognitive dissonance to promote a deeper level of understanding and self awareness in your teenager. It's easy to get discouraged as a parent when you keep suggesting things to your teenager and they just don't seem to be listening. But there's really interesting research on the sleeper effect that you might want to be aware of. A study by Carl Hovland and Walter Weiss found that while people might initially reject a message based on surface level factors like the credibility of the source, the actual substance of the communication does tend to linger in their memory. So, yeah, your teenager might brush off your advice in the moment because they're tired or they're exasperated or they don't want to admit that maybe you know something that they don't know. But the actual substance of your message might continue to percolate deep in their mind for weeks or months after the conversation. Over time, all of those touch points and communications add up, and it influences their thinking and decision making well into the future. So don't get discouraged if your teenager doesn't drop everything and start doing it your way the first time you suggest something. Be patient and keep engaging with it. Just like you wouldn't expect to completely transform your physique with one trip to the gym, you can't expect to totally overhaul your teenager's mindset in a single conversation. It takes consistency, patience, and a willingness to keep showing up and engaging in those deep, challenging conversations. With every interaction, you're planting seeds of wisdom that will continue to grow and flourish over time. So keep at it. Your efforts are making a difference, even if you can't see it right away. Hopefully, this has been helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share it and subscribe to our channel for more science-backed tips on parent-teen communication. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, be cool, be nice, and be firm.